Hello everyone and welcome to another tier list. Today we're taking a look at the Old School Runescape skills lists. I'm really excited for this one, so let's jump into it. First one, you can't really see it here with the black background, but this is agility. I personally do not like agility at all. It's pretty useful because you got a lot of agility shortcuts that you can unlock with it. So its usefulness is really good. But the actual training, it doesn't matter if it's a rooftop course or another agility course. I just can't stand training it at all. So even though it's got useful shortcuts, it's my least favorite skill to train in the game. We'll put it in the F tier. Up next, we have attack. A pretty good combat skill, I would say. It's really satisfying when you hit those milestones and you unlock the next level of weaponry. It's pretty good, decently fun to train combat, but it's nothing super special, but a good one, and it's satisfying to level up, so we'll put it in the A tier. Up next, we have construction, a super expensive skill if you want to train it fast. So even though it's not very fun to train if you're just making furniture in the house, because it is so fast and it is quite a useful skill, and also with the addition of mahogany homes, that makes it a little more fun in my opinion. We'll put it in the B tier. Up next, we have cooking. You can kind of train cooking one of two ways. You can do it super fast making wines, which is not very AFK, or you can do it with like cooking meat or fish, which is a bit more AFK, and you can talk to people if you're in the Rogue's Den or Hosidi's Kitchen, wherever you like to cook. I think it's a pretty good skill. It's pretty fast, and you can profit if you're not doing wines, so I'll put it in the B tier. Up next, we have crafting. This is one where you can train it kind of slow. I would say average speed for minimal cost or even a slight profit, or you can train it really fast and spend a lot of money. I don't think it's a super fun one. It's not actually super AFK for some of the methods, so I'm actually going to put crafting in the D tier. It's very useful if you're an Iron Man, but for a main account, it's not the best. Up next, we have defense. Pretty similar to attack. It has some satisfying milestones where you can use the next level of armor and you get those unlocks. Training it, pretty much just the same way you train any combat, probably Nightmare Zone. But it's pretty good, and it's satisfying to get the unlocks for the different armor types. So we'll put it in the A tier along with attack. Up next, we have farming. I think farming is pretty fun. It's satisfying to get those huge XP drops if you're doing like fruit tree runs or tree runs. And definitely useful. You can do your herb runs, make some good money. And overall, some people really hate farming, but if you do it, I find it kind of satisfying. We'll put it in the B tier. Up next, we have fire making. Now, fire making back in the day before Wintertot, I hated it. It was horrible. Just lighting logs, going in a straight line, running back to the bank. But with Wintertot, it makes it a lot more fun, a lot more interactive, and you have some pretty interesting conversations around the bonfire at Wintertot, so I enjoy it. We'll put it in the B tier. Up next, we have fishing. Not a super fast skill, but honestly, for the most part, a pretty AFK skill, and I really enjoy it. It's a great one where you can just sit there and talk to people, maybe watch a movie on the side. I actually quite like fishing. I'll put it in the A tier. Up next, fletching. I think all I need to say about this one is, why fletch? D tier. Up next, we have Herblore, the Iron Man's dreaded skill to train. For a main account, it's not that bad, but it is very expensive if you want to train it quick. And it's not super AFK. I don't really like Herblore too much, so we'll put it in the C tier. Up next, we have hit points, probably the least interesting of the combat skills, I would say. Having more hit points is obviously nice, but there's not really any milestones to hit with hit points. And training it just kind of happens passively. You almost never try and train hit points, so we'll put this one in the D tier. It's nothing too special, but obviously having high hit points is always nice. Up next, we have Hunter. Not a super fast skill to train, but I like how many different methods there are for Hunter. You can do birdhouse runs, which are pretty much the farm runs of Hunter. You have things like herbivore, trapping, even puro. Again, it's not a quick skill, but there's a lot of methods to train, and I think it's pretty fun. We'll slot it in the B tier. Up next, we have magic. Now, magic, there's tons of ways that you can train it. I'm not even going to list them all because there's just so many, but it's so useful. There's so many useful spells that you unlock. This one for me is an easy S tier. It's not too hard to train either if you want to do something like bursting, but even if you don't, just overall, probably the most useful skill in the game, I would say. Mining, now this one is pretty slow to train, even if you're doing things like 3-tick granite. I really don't like training mining, but for some reason, just unlocking the next level of ore is so satisfying. I mean, the first time I unlocked runite ore, and I went to mine that, well, actually, it took me a while to find it because all the runite ore had been mined by bots. But when you mine that first runite ore, there's just something so satisfying about it. I think it's pretty good, but it is really annoying to train, and just because of that, I'm going to have to put it in the C tier. Up next, we have prayer. Really useful skill, along with the protection prayers, and then the higher level prayers are also useful. And I actually like training it, especially at the wilderness altar. Some people hate doing that, it stresses them out, but I actually like going out there with like my noted bones and then having PKers show up and have to either log out in time or make an escape. I think it's actually pretty fun. It's good entertainment, gets the blood flowing. I'll put it in the A tier. Up next, we have ranged. Ranged obviously has some of the best weapons in the game, along with the twisted bow and the blowpipe. It's pretty easy to train, honestly. There's a lot of methods you can do it. Cannoning also can speed that up a lot. Overall, just usefulness and training speed. I think range is an easy S tier. Up next, we have Runecrafting. This is a lot of people's most hated skill, and it is really slow to train, and there's not a lot of AFK ways to do it outside of maybe you could argue the ZMI altar or Bloods are quite AFK. So overall, it's not a great skill. It doesn't have any super important unlocks, but I personally enjoy it, and you know, I kind of like runecrafting, but it is really slow to train, so we'll put it in the D tier. Up next, we have Slayer. You know, obviously Slayer has some of the best gear and monster unlocks in the game. It's really fun to train. I like, you know, seeing what Slayer task I'm gonna do next. Obviously, some tasks are pretty annoying to do. I'm looking at you, Metal Dragons, but overall, it's a great skill. Again, some of the best gear and monster unlocks in the game. That's an easy S tier for me. Up next, we have smithing. I personally don't like smithing at all. It's fast if you do it in the blast furnace with gold, but I hate doing the blast furnace. It's like training agility for me. Really don't like smithing. It's kind of useful, but overall it's not really a necessary skill. I'll actually put it in the F tier along with agility. Up next, we have strength. Strength, similar to attack and defense, are just one of those combat skills. Not super hard to train up. Strength, it is satisfying because, you know, you get extra max hits as you train it up, but it doesn't really have those milestones like attack and defense do, where you unlock the next sets of gear, unless we're talking, you know, strength requirement gear, which is, there's not a whole lot of gear that requires strength. So we'll just put it in the B tier. It's not a difficult skill to train, just another combat skill, but doesn't quite have those satisfying milestones like attack and defense do, I would say. The next one, we can't really see it here, is thieving. I do not like thieving at all, especially pickpocketing. I mean, you're just sitting there spam clicking for hours on end until you hit 99. Pyramid plunder, I do enjoy a little bit, but man, blackjacking or pickpocketing is just so boring, and I feel like my wrist is going to fall off after I'm training it. Thieving will actually be another one in the F tier. Up next, we have woodcutting. Woodcutting is kind of like fishing for me. It's a great AFK skill, super fun just to go to the woodcutting guild and talk to people. Because of that, you know, it's not super difficult to train either. It's pretty fun. I'll put that one in the A tier. I'm sure there's going to be some disagreement about this tier list, especially having runecrafting anywhere above the F tier for a lot of people is going to be a sin. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know your thoughts.